You'd think a toxic parent knows what they're doing to you. They don't. Most believe completely they're the good guy in your story. Not lying to you, lying to themselves. So well, so long, the lie became their truth. That's what makes this scarier than every narcissistic parent video you've seen. This isn't about parents who know and don't care. It's about parents who did real damage and walked away feeling like the victim. Ever set a boundary and watched them react like you'd stabbed them? Ever wondered how someone who hurt you this badly still sleeps fine at night? What's happening inside their head is stranger than you think. Somewhere along the way, that parent built their entire identity on being the good one, the sacrificing one, the one who did everything for you. That identity became so central, any challenge to it doesn't feel like feedback, it feels like an attack on their existence. So when you bring up something they did, you're not naming a moment, you're threatening the whole story they've survived on. That's why they don't get defensive like someone who's caught, they get defensive like someone under attack, because in their mind, they are. Hit like right now. Drop a comment. Which parent are you thinking of? One word is enough. Subscribe, because what's next is even harder to hear. This is cognitive dissonance at its most dangerous. Two truths can't coexist. I hurt my child, and I'm a good person. So the brain edits one out, usually the first. Not in one moment, in 1,000 tiny adjustments over years. It wasn't that bad. I was doing my best. Every parent makes mistakes, until the story softens just enough to live with. Here's the unsettling part. This isn't rare. It's how most people protect their self-image when reality gets uncomfortable. Toxic parents just do it about the person who needed them most. Which means the version of events they believe might not even feel like a lie to them anymore. Suddenly, you're bringing up moments they swear never happened, or didn't happen like that. To them, it doesn't feel like you finally speaking the truth. It feels like their own history is being hijacked, like a stranger rewrote their past overnight. That's why so many toxic parents say the accusations came out of thin air. In their memory, nothing that severe occurred. So when it's named, it doesn't register as accountability, it registers as an attack on their reality itself. Which means, in their mind, they're not the one who caused the distance. They're the one being wronged by it. The more capable you become, the more you think for yourself, make your own decisions, live outside their reach, the more threatening it feels. Not because they're proud and scared to let go, like a healthy parent, because your independence means less control for them. So instead of encouraging it, they pull you back. Guilt, sudden emergencies that need you, comments that make you question your own judgment right when you're starting to trust it. It's not always loud. Sometimes it looks like concern. Sometimes it looks like love. But underneath it, the message is the same. Don't grow too far from me. To them, your independence was never the goal. It was the risk. Here's the one that stings most. All those sacrifices, the "I gave you everything" speeches, a lot of that wasn't about you. It's easy to assume doing a lot for a child means loving them well, but for a toxic parent, giving can be its own kind of control. The gift comes with strings. The sacrifice comes with a debt they expect you to repay in loyalty, obedience, or silence. You weren't always treated like a separate person with your own needs. Sometimes you were treated like an extension of them, proof they were doing it right, a reflection they needed to look good. So when you didn't turn out exactly how they pictured, it didn't feel like your life, it felt like their failure. If this is hitting closer than you expected, drop a comment below. I read everyone, and this next part is the one people message me about most. Overprotectiveness sounds loving on paper. Constant check-ins, every decision made for your own good, never letting you fail, struggle, or figure things out. It looks like devotion. Taken far enough, that devotion becomes suffocating. You stop trusting yourself because someone was always there making the call before you could. Your independence gets quietly stripped away, wrapped in the language of care. That's what makes this one hard to name. No cruelty to point to, no cutting words. Just a parent who loved you so tightly, you never got the room to become your own person. And when you try to explain that to them, they genuinely don't understand. Because to them, loving you meant never letting go. To a toxic parent, neutral things don't register as neutral. A tone of voice, a delayed text, a small disagreement. Their mind quietly reads it as a disrespect, rejection, an attack, even when nothing was meant by it. That's why the reaction never matched the moment. You'd say something ordinary, and suddenly you're facing silence, anger, or guilt you can't explain. From their side, they weren't overreacting. They were defending themselves against something that felt very real to them. This is what made you walk on eggshells growing up. Not because you kept doing something wrong, because the line between fine and offensive kept moving, depending on what their mind decided to read into it. You weren't imagining it. The rules really were invisible, because they were never actually about you. Grow up with emotional neglect, coldness, or control, and no one ever names it as wrong. That becomes your blueprint for parenting. Not because they chose to pass on the pain, because it's the only version of love they were ever shown. So when you tell them something they did was harmful, they're not just hearing criticism of their parenting, they're hearing that the only model they ever had was broken too. That's a truth most people aren't ready to face about their own childhood. It doesn't excuse what happened to you, but it explains why the same wounds keep showing up, generation after generation, dressed up as just how things are. It's not always just who they are. Sometimes it's what they were surviving. Financial stress, isolation, growing up around real danger or instability, feeling like the world outside your door was something to brace against, not trust. All of it shapes how a parent shows up at home. When someone constantly feels threatened by their environment, that fear doesn't stay outside. It comes through the front door. It turns into control, because control feels like safety. It turns into harshness, because softness feels like a risk they can't afford. This doesn't make it okay, but it means toxicity isn't always a fixed trait someone was born with. Sometimes it's a nervous system that never got to feel safe, passed down through behavior instead of words. Understanding this isn't about blaming. It's about finally making sense of a childhood that never quite added up. One more part left. It might be the hardest one to hear. As kids, we don't have the framework to call it toxic. We just call it normal. Love looked like walking on eggshells, so that's what love meant. You defended them to other people. You made excuses in your own head before anyone even asked. Not because you were naive, because it was the only version of family you knew. That's how a distorted self-image survives so long. Not just because the parent believes it, because the child, without realizing it, keeps believing it for them. Recognizing that isn't about blame. It's about finally seeing clearly, maybe for the first time. If you made it this far, you already know this hit close to home. Comment one word that describes your parent. Like this video. Subscribe. There's more of this coming, and you don't want to miss it.